It's 1 in, 1 out for Chelsea players playing in this international break. Blueco has set their sights on yet another phenomenal young Argentinian talent, but transfer guru Fabrizio Romano happens to think it's going to be quiet for Chelsea this Christmas. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, that means we're talking about a myriad of things, a small collection of news gathered from across the web and brought to you by yours truly. We're talking injuries, we're talking transfers, we're talking everything Chelsea, right? Because that's what Chelsea is these days, injuries and transfers. But guys, before we get into it, if you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so we'll start with the injury stuff, right? We'll start with the hard stuff. So, oh man, it just never ends, does it? It never ends. International breaks are always a worry for this kind of thing. But I guess it's not actually super negative and could be seen in some light as a positive thing. So we'll start with Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto has withdrawn from the Portugal squad. Kind of a sigh of relief. I did a video yesterday about the 14 players that have been called up for the international break, and Pedro Neto was one of the ones that I was the most worried about, being that he nearly didn't even make the Wolves game. So he's basically pulled out, and he's like, no, absolutely not. It's also come out that when he was substituted for Marc in the Wolves game, kind of right towards the end of the Wolves game, Pedro Neto supposedly himself asked to be subbed off because he's been feeling an issue. So he will join his buddy Enzo Fernandez on the treatment table for the next 2 weeks. And kind of a relief, to be honest, because you just got to think if he'd have gone, he'd almost definitely have exacerbated that injury. And at the end of the day, he chose to put his club career in front of his World Cup chances, which is really to be commended. Same with Enzo Fernandez. I mean, these guys are probably pretty likely to play for their teams anyway. Enzo Fernandez definitely for Argentina. Maybe Pedro Neto's got a little bit more competition at Portugal, to be honest, because they have got a lot of wingers. But either way, Pedro Neto is going to be staying with Chelsea for the international break so he can recover, which is great because we've got so many fixtures after the international break and all the way through December. It's like 10 games, man. Absolutely nuts. So we're going to need everyone we've got. And on top of that, Neto being out, as I said, it is 1 out, 1 in. Trevoh Chalobah is supposedly going to replace Marc Guehi in the England squad because Marc Guehi got a foot injury in the... I can't remember who it was they played, but the Conference League. So they played their last game in the Conference League. Marc Guehi has a foot injury from that game and had to also withdraw from the England squad. So Trevoh Chalobah's found himself in there as well, which is great, man. Good for Chalobah, man. Absolutely good for Chalobah if he's being looked at. And at the end of the day, that makes sense because Chelsea have got like the second best defensive performance this season behind Arsenal, and their defence is much better than ours. Other injury news pertaining to Romeo Lavia. So it's come out, Romeo Lavia is going to be out for at least a month, which... savage, man. Do you know what I mean? Savage. Feel so sorry for the guy. Every single time he looks like he's nearly getting there, it smacks him, doesn't it? It just smacks him. You saw how disappointed he was on the pitch in the Wolves game. He was hitting the floor. He looked really upset. And it's such a shame because he's such a good player. Do you know what I mean? As I genuinely believe that if Lavia was able to remain fit, he'd be challenging ultimately for a shot in the first team, right? Because he's a very different profile, such a good passer, offers something a little bit different and plays really well. And we've never even seen him play for long enough to see what he can actually be like when he hits the ground running, do you know what I mean? When he's on a real hot run of form, because literally he's been injured ever since we bought him from Southampton. I think he was injured when we bought him from Southampton, literally the instant of. So it's just that same old story for Romeo Lavia, isn't it? A real shame. Weirdly, I had a feeling it was going to be more than a month when I saw him go down and I saw his reaction and how he was hitting the floor and stuff. I was like, oh no, we're not going to see him for another 3 months. Do you know what I mean? So a month. Yeah, I mean, a month is a lot. You know what I mean? 100%, of course it is. But at the same time, I think it could have been worse. It just begs questions about our midfield depth, though, doesn't it? Like, Dario Asugo is still going to be out till January, probably. Andre Santos, yeah, okay, cool, he's good. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez are both constantly nursing injuries at the moment, man, literally all of the time. They've been playing through pain and injury all season, essentially. Enzo Fernandez is dealing with synovitis. I'm not exactly sure what it is that Moises Caicedo has got, but he has got something that is not allowing him to train every day. And as I mention it all the time, because it's just wild to me, he missed the entire week's training before the Fulham game, even though he played really well. So midfield depth seems to be looking like a bit of a struggle. Selling Leslie Ugochukwu to Burnley all of a sudden, maybe not the best idea in the world. So that squarely leads me on to the next point of the video, which is we're going to talk about some transfer news, right? We're going to talk about some transfer news. Now, supposedly, according to Fabrizio Romano, we can expect a quiet Christmas. I found a quote from Fabrizio Romano specifically pertaining to Chelsea's movement in the winter transfer market, and it reads as follows. At the moment, it is very quiet. Chelsea are happy with their squad and not seeking any player, and have not started any conversations with any new centre-back for the January window. Chelsea are always monitoring the market, we know that. They are always attentive to opportunities. They also felt last summer in August that there was probably no player available on the market for Chelsea who could make an impact. Big words from Fabrizio Romano. Now, a couple of years ago, I'd probably have taken this as, gospel. I'd probably have been like, yeah, well, if Romano says it, it's not happening. But we've seen Romano's powers start to wane in the last few years, haven't we? The kryptonite of David Ornstein has caused him a couple of problems. And, things like the Xavi Simons news, a couple of here we goes. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it kind of goes all the way back to Hakim Ziyech to PSG. Obviously, the here we go came out, but didn't end up happening. And, that was one of a few situations where the here we go didn't actually happen. But yeah, like I say, man, the Xavi Simons one for me is kind of the biggest one because he was pushing that story literally up until the day that he went to Tottenham. Do you know what I mean? And what it looks like from an outward perspective is the Xavi Simons deal died the second he rejoined Red Bull Leipzig's pre-season squad. And, obviously we went in for Fermin Lopez and he kind of said, no, Lopez isn't a thing. And we've heard lots of stuff about Lopez since then as well. So I can understand now, instead of taking Fabrizio Romano's word as gospel, when I read stuff from Fabrizio, I kind of think, okay, so none of Fabrizio's contacts have indicated to him that Chelsea are looking at anyone. That doesn't mean that we're not going to look at anyone. I mean, with the window, what we've seen the last couple of years in particular is buy-in players that don't join the squad straight away. Do you know what I mean? We got Dario Asugo and Giovanni Quenda from Sporting last January. Obviously, Dario Asuga joined us at the start of this season. Quenda will be joining us at the start of next season. So stuff like that can always happen. And just looking at our midfield depth, like Dario Asugo may well be fit when he comes back, and he's not exactly known to be an injury-prone player, but at the same time, like, can we gamble? Do you know what I mean? Can we gamble on... I'm literally just talking about finishing in the Champions League. We can't, for me, gamble. Like, for instance, last year, we played Moises Caicedo in 38 of 38 Premier League games. Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. Enzo Fernandez, not quite as many, but still over 30. And we can't do that again this season because they were fitter last season. Do you know what I mean? They probably still had some troubles, but they were fitter last season. And then they had the Club World Cup on top of that as well. The games, I mean, Maresca said it, man. 60, 65, 70 games a season now, do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised to see us go in for some midfield depth. I think that would probably be a smart thing to do. Just otherwise, we're going to leave ourselves in a really savage position, which could just get worse, do you know what I mean? If we don't get adequate midfield depth and the likes of Lavia and Asugo are going to be spotty and out of the team for a long time, then that instantly puts loads of pressure on Moises Caicedo, which in itself could lead to him getting another injury. Do you know what I mean? So, and the worst thing that could happen for our season, literally, I think even losing Caicedo is even worse than losing Cole Palmer, because we can find a goal without Cole Palmer, without a Caicedo level player in the midfield. Like, things just aren't going to tick quite as well, especially against the big teams. So Romano's saying that it's going to be lonely this Christmas for Chelsea in the transfer market, but I have a feeling that we will go in for someone. I don't necessarily think that we're going to go in for big money. Like, I've seen some really crazy stories, a couple of them that I'm going to get onto in a minute. But ultimately, I think we should at the very least, like, go in for some squad depth. Looking at it, I don't even think centre-back's really important right now. When we go in for a centre-back, I think we should go in for the guy, the John Terry, the Virgil van Dijk, the man to make the difference. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we should go in the market in January and buy another backup centre-back, because we've got 6 of them of kind of that level already. Trevoh Chalobah, Achiampong and Fofana all starting to look really good. And then we've got Tosin, Badiashile as backups. So we've got a lot of centre-backs, do you know what I mean? So let's move on to some of the players that I've seen I was talking about. Now, one I wanted to talk about in particular because I just find the whole story fascinating surrounding him. It is Nico Paz, young 21-year-old Argentinian centre-attacking midfielder, currently plying his trade at Como, managed by none other than blue legend Cesc Fabregas. Oh, mate, I think Fabregas might be my all-time favourite Chelsea player. I know that's a bit mad, but it's just the style of position that he plays. Do you know what I mean? He's just such a unique kind of player, and I absolutely love watching him play. Marvellous. And he's a great guy as well. I love watching him talk in interviews, and especially a couple of things I've seen him do since he's gone over at Como to be their manager. Absolutely brilliant. So Nico Paz has 4 goals and 4 assists, I think, in Serie A this season, which is really, really, really good. He's doing a really good job. They have just got themselves into 7th place, which is really impressive because they are a recently promoted team, having somewhat of a Sunderland season, maybe not quite as good as Sunderland, to be fair, because very, very few promoted teams across the world will be having a season as good as Sunderland, but Como doing really good job. Fabregas, reasonably new manager. Como also a young squad, just having coming out of Serie B, going into Serie A, so yeah, man, absolutely wicked. Now, the thing with Nico Paz is the structure of the deal is very, very complicated. Basically, he was a Real Madrid player. He got sold to Como for a reasonable amount of money, like not crazy amounts because they obviously valued him. But instead of whacking a massive transfer fee on him, they did 2 things instead. They added a 50% sell-on clause. So if Como sell Nico Paz, Real Madrid get 50% of that money, which obviously complicates things. But also, up until 2027... Real Madrid have inserted 2 separate buyback clauses in his contract. One that activates in 2026, which will allow them to buy him for 9 million, and one in 2027 that allows them to buy him for 10 million. That's euros as well, by the way, so that's cheaper, even cheaper than it would be in pounds. So there's a lot of talk about Chelsea being really, really interested in Nico Paz. And you can see why. Really, really good player. Fabregas doing a great job with him. Looks like, the kind of player we should have got instead of Buonanotte, for instance. I'd have been really happy to have seen a Nico Paz come in as a backup to Cole Palmer and in place of someone like Xavi Simons, who obviously isn't exactly smashing it in the Prem, is he, at the moment? Tee-hee-hee. But yeah, this is the thing, man. It's like Chelsea really, really interested. I think Tottenham made an approach for him, actually, just before they bought Xavi Simons as well, but they were rebuffed. And the thing is, it just all lies in Real Madrid's hands. Basically, Real Madrid get to absolutely 100% make the decision about what they want to do with this guy. Now, the question is, I guess, does Xabi Alonso see him in the plans, or does he think there's room for him? There's already a lot of young players getting a lot of time. There's Matasumono, sorry, I think his name is, another young Argentinian centre attacking midfielder, and has been integrated into the first team. And there's also Rodyrgo, the young Turkish centre attacking midfielder, who is also finding time in the first team at the moment. So they've got a lot of young attacking midfielders already, but the opportunity might just be seen as too big to pass up. Do you know what I mean? Even if it isn't, at the end of the day, Real Madrid can buy him back for 10 mil, and if he's worth 80 plus, which is what people are talking about, I've seen a few hundreds, but I can't buy that yet. If people are talking about like 80 mil for Nico Paz because of his potential, then Real Madrid just buy him back and sell him, don't they? They don't go to Como, just sell him, we'll take the 50% because we don't have to do any work. You'd be like, no, we'll buy him back for 10 mil, and then we'll sell him, and then we'll get all of the chunk of that profit. So, really, really complicated. There's been some word about Como being like, can we renegotiate the deal, Mr. Real Madrid, please? Because we've put all of this work into him and we think he's going to be worth a lot of money, but Real Madrid are in the driving seat. So, like I say, there isn't any huge, enormous indications to say whether Real Madrid definitely want him back in the squad. Like I said, Xabi Alonso's got a lot of young attacking midfielders, and the ones I mentioned don't even factor in the likes of Jude Bellingham, for instance. Do you know what I mean? So, be really interesting to see what happens with that. And to stay on the Real Madrid thing, I think this is nuts. I think it's wild, and I think this is the indication that 'tis the season to be silly. Apparently, Chelsea are looking at buying Rodrygo again. And I've seen January, mate, I can't wrap my head around it, man. And I've seen a few stories about it yesterday as well. Chelsea making inquiries to Real Madrid about the availability of Rodrygo for like 80 mil. And I'm like, I thought we'd figured it out, man. I thought we'd figured it out. I never want Blueco to have anything to do with the nutrition for the players at the lunches or whenever they eat, because supposedly they do not understand how to let them cook. We got to let these guys that we've got cook, man. Do you know what I mean? We've had We're not even half a season in yet. And if we talk about Rodrygo in particular, we're talking about a left winger, really. Yes, I know he can play right wing, but it's not exactly like there's loads of room over there either. Unless you're already looking at Jamie Gittins, let's be honest, because out of the two, that's the one you'd be looking at. Unless you are already looking at Jamie Gittins, is what, like 4 or 5 appearances across the season already, or maybe 6, and saying, no, not good enough, need to move on and get someone else. And you're also looking at Garnacho and saying, yeah, he is starting to cook, he's starting to warm up, but it's not good enough right now. Knock him down the pecking order and spend 80 mil on Rodrygo to get that left wing spot. Like, mate, come on. This is the height of silly season. And it's November. This is like when you see Christmas decorations in October, isn't it? You're like, it's literally October. I mean, I know it's not October now, but just for a point of comparison and reference, it just feels wild, man. It just feels wild. Rodrygo's a good player, don't get me wrong. Like, I think he's a really good player. I wasn't super psyched for him, to be honest, when we were linked with him in the summer just gone either. Like, yes, he is a good player. Of course he's a good player. But it's just the money, man. It's like the serious amount of money. Like, I would rather take that money and buy a backup midfielder for our depth issues, and maybe even look at like a defender or save it for like another goalkeeper or something. Do you know what I mean? For me, Rodrygo is not going to be the be-all and end-all that turns us into an elite team. Do you know what I mean? I think letting Esteval develop is going to be part of that. Getting Cole Palmer back in the team is going to be part of that. Maybe the striker situation. We've got Omega coming in next year, obviously, and he's having a good season. Just scored a brace against Lille in Liga after coming back from injury. Love that. But I don't know, man. Rodrygo, like, by Galactico signings at the moment, Galactico attacking signings just don't feel like they're going to be the be-all and end-all. What we need, like, what we all know that we need, is a centre-back and a goalkeeper. Those are the two big holes in the squad that we're absolutely looking at that we need to sort out. So, left wing, man, we've got Jamie Gittins and Garnacho. Let them cook. I mean, and ultimately, this is very counter to, you know, what Fabrizio Romano was saying about, you know, us not really looking at anyone. And you would have thought, if there's much in it about the Rodrygo thing, Fabrizio Romano probably would have been on top of that already. But I did see a few, like I say, it was a few like breaking news things yesterday where it said that we'd approached them about his availability rather than like put a bid in or anything like that. So it might just be a case of conversations are being had. But I don't know. I don't really vibe it, man. I'd rather just let Garnacho and Jamie Gittins keep cooking for a while. Do you know what I mean? At least until the end of the season. They're both fit. Do you know what I mean? It's not like fitness is an issue. They're both starting to play well now. Garnacho in particular looking absolutely brilliant. Like, Man United fans are livid about how well Garnacho is doing, by the way, and I absolutely love that. So, tough one, man. Tough one. Like I say, silly season for me. This is silly. The Nico Paz thing, I think, has some weight to it about, you know, approaching and finding out whether he's available and stuff, just because we need that in the squad. We've got Buonanotte, right? And Buonanotte's on loan. And when Buonanotte goes, who have we got? We haven't really got anyone for that position. Do you know what I mean? Unless we buy another right winger and Esteval moves in there. But still, I think if he's not crazy expensive, I think Nico Paz looks like an excellent potential addition to the squad. For me, it's like he's in the same vein as Fermin Lopez, right? I think if we're going to go in for Nico Paz, that would be in place of someone like a Fermin Lopez, and clearly we were looking at players like that at the end of the summer window. But I don't think it's going to happen soon. I don't think it will happen in January. I do think January will be reasonably quiet, but I would like to see us get just a little bit of depth. Like, for me, midfield at the moment is looking like the place to do it as well. Do you know what I mean? Andre Santos, yeah, okay, he's cool. If we got one more centre defensive midfielder, like a Leslie Ugochukwu, for instance, do you know what I mean? Someone like that, just to be able to be there. You remember when we went and got Dennis Zakaria? I think it was it the Sarri season? I can't remember which it was, but, you know, we went to Juventus and we got Dennis Zakaria on loan even. We didn't even buy him, do you know what I mean? Maybe that's the thing to do. I wouldn't be adverse to seeing some depth options come in just to help us keep our squad fit for the rest of the season. But other than that, I wouldn't be too disappointed to see us have a quiet window, I think it's fair to say. Right, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, if you're chilling and you've got a tasty beverage and you fancy listening to a little bit more Stamford Sync, I implore you to check out this video here, which is my video yesterday talking about the 14 players that have been called up for international duty. Just bear in mind that, you know, obviously things have changed since then, and now Pedro Neto is out and Trevoh Chalobah is in. Nice one, guys. I hope you all have an absolutely wicked day, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.